Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 39. Today we're taking a look at Maro the Pearl Itoje, aka The Chosen One. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. It's the big one. This week it's the last of our awesome foursome, but you've got to leave the best, save the best till last. So without further ado, yes, it is of course Maro Miles Itoje, aka The Pearl, aka The Chosen One, aka Super Maro Itoje. I'm joined by Dan. Hi mate, it's the big one.
Hi mate, it is the big one. I've just been walking with dogs, and I've on way back, Run DMC came on, so I'm on a bit of a 1990s high, which was probably before The Chosen One was even born, to be honest.
He was born in 1994, so I guess it's, in there. But 1994, he's 22, 23 in October. So he'll be 25 come 2019 Rugby World Cup. Probably still not even quite at his peak, by age. But look, he. What can you say about him? What can't you say about him? He's obviously a bit special. The Chosen One is one of his nicknames. The Lions named him Super Maro Itoje. But the one that we're going to stick with is the Pearl. The Pearl. Some media sources would suggest that the reason for that name is his preciousness to the sides that he plays for. But actually, coming from the horse's mouth himself, that nickname came about because at a Christmas social with Saracens, he wore a white turtleneck, and one of his teammates told him he looked like a black pearl.
That's
and it's
so I've heard that story before, and that I'm sure that's more likely the real answer.
That's come from him, so you got to think that's the one. But so kind of move on with this. Born in Camden, North London. As I say, 28th of October 1994. So he's 22, big guy like all these guys. He's 6'5". He's 18 stone 4. And I guess when you think about his kind of athleticism, that's a lot of weight, a lot of size to be carrying around the park the way that he does. He certainly carries himself like a smaller person than that.
He's absolutely ripped as well. I mean, to be ripped with 18 stone 4 means you're in pretty useful condition.
He's a really interesting guy, actually. Rugby aside, I mean, he was born. So just quickly, he was born to Nigerian parents, Florence and Effie. He went to Salcombe Prep School in North London. He went from there to St George's in Harpenden, which is also where Owen Farrell and George Ford were classmates. He played for Harpenden Rugby Club, and the Sarries Academy, I think, is part of that. As well, so that's kind of where he got his Sarries Academy exposure. At schoolboy level, he played basketball, football, rugby and athletics. He was England under-17 shot put, and at one point they thought he was England's sort of big hope for the future of shot put. He also played England under-17s basketball, so clearly fairly useful there.
Jesus.
Doesn't have the England attributes as far as football is concerned, but does compare himself to Didier Drogba. So obviously fancies himself as a bit of a footballer. And of course, he is our English rugby legend. So, it's pretty obvious what he's done there. But actually, he didn't play a huge amount of rugby. I mean, he obviously played a lot of rugby at school, but he kind of came out of nowhere. He followed the same route as everybody else. He played under 18s, he played under 20s, he played Saxons, he played England. So you wouldn't think anything of it. But it all happened in such a short space of time. He literally kind of went from playing for Old Albanians, because he was Harpenden in 2005 to 2011. Old Albanians at senior level, which I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know much about them. But,
they're my area. They're near me. They're a good club. They're national. I think they're national 2 South or National 1, maybe even. They're still pretty.
But a good club, Maro Itoje, good club.
No, not Maro Itoje, good club.
So he played for them, and then suddenly he went from there to starting to play in the top flight. So it was quite impressive. Where did we get to? He just before we move on to more of the rugby stuff. So he's just graduated actually with a degree in politics from the School of Oriental and African Studies. So he's a smart cookie. He went to Harrow, got a scholarship to Harrow when he was 11.
So that's what I was going to say. I thought he was at Harrow. So when he was at St George's in Harpenden, did he? So 2 questions quickly. Did he cross over with? I'm trying to think. Did he cross over with Farrell or Ford then? And also, don't forget Billy Vunipola was at Harrow. So did they cross over at Harrow?
He's 22 now. How old's Billy?
I'm trying to think. I think Billy's around that age, isn't he?
We should know because we've
maybe Billy's a little bit older actually.
Yeah, I think they must have crossed over, but there was no. It didn't even occur to me when I was going through all the stats.
Well, yeah, because I did the Billy one, and there was nothing to say that he crossed over with Maro. So I suspect they probably didn't.
Must have missed it.
Cross over, because I'm sure that would be something that would be mentioned too. Just absolute epic legends of English rugby. I'm sure it'd be mentioned if they'd played together at school.
Yeah, you would have thought so, but apparently not. So who knows? But yeah, as far as the rugby is concerned, he debuted for Sarries in the 2013-14 season, aged 19. That was against Cardiff Blues, and his Premiership debut was against Leicester that year, a little bit later on that year. I've mentioned already, obviously, his before getting to that stage, it was Harpenden 2005 to 2011. Not the school, the rugby club, and then Old Albanians at senior level. And then 2016, he led Saracens to victory in Europe, in the European Champions Cup. Got a man of the match performance in that one. He was named European Player of the Year in 2016 as well, which is pretty impressive.
Jesus. Yeah.
I mean, I'm jumping around a bit here with my time frames because actually I'm going to go back again now. So his England under-18 debut and his England under-20 debut and becoming captain of England under-20s all happened in the 2013-14 season. So It was a pretty big year. Debut for Sarries in the Premiership, England under-18 debut, England under-20 debut, and becoming captain of the England under-20s debut as well. So a fair amount happened, and of course, at the end of 2014, he was involved in the. Sorry. And of course, at the end of 2014, sorry, not at the end, at the beginning of 2014, he also scored in every single game of the under-26 Nations, which is always quite an impressive feat especially when you're playing in second row. And he was the England Player of the tournament there. And in 2014 as well, he won the Junior World Championships as captain, beating South Africa 21-20 in the final. So, just
I remember watching that match. It was a hell of a match.
A ridiculous season. Or
he's a ridiculous player.
He is a ridiculous player, and so I suppose it's only right that this should happen. But yeah, 2013-14. What a year what a season to remember for Maro the Pearl Itoje. Saxon's debut came January 2015, so there was no hanging about. Literally one season ended, having done all of that. Next season started straight in with the Saxons. He was selected in the 2015 Rugby World Cup training squad. This is probably the only. It's not really a black mark on his career either. It's another black mark on Stuart Lancaster's career, I think, because I think of all of the mistakes that Lancaster made, cutting Maro Itoje from the 2015 squad has to be up there with the worst of them. I think he was quoted as saying, "His time will come." Well, if his time had come, we might still have Stuart Lancaster as the England coach.
Who knows? I mean, in fairness, it was still pretty early days for him. But something about
it wasn't so much dropping him from it wasn't so much not selecting him for the team. It was the fact that he sent him home from training. He decided that he didn't even let him stay for the whole training. He dropped him from the training camp.
Oh,
And so Maro's response is obviously disappointing. He felt like a couple more weeks would have just given him a bit more time to prove what he was capable of, and he felt ready.
yeah.
But he wasn't even given, the full chance. He was cut early on, and so I think that's probably where the error was made. I think it's probably fair. He perhaps wasn't ready to step up and play first team for England in the World Cup. Although obviously hindsight being what it is, and anything would have been better. But I think dropping him from the training camp was obviously not that smart in hindsight. But it meant that of course Eddie Jones the following year, January 2016, was able to give this relative newbie his debut for England. I think he played in every single Six Nations game of that Grand Slam year. Man of the match performance coming against Wales, and just became just the legend that he now is off the back of this, and Eddie Jones gets to take the credit for that kind of call, that bringing that young 20-year-old into the senior side and just finding one of England's best players, probably one of the first names on the team sheet now.
Yeah, I would have thought so. There's the thing about, and I think it was a 2016 season. He's just a winner. Like he's got the full package. Like he's a great role model. His personality comes across really well, and his sort of professionalism whilst having a fun side. But I think it was for 2016 when Saracens did the double, so they got the league and European Cup. England had the unbeaten year. And it just seemed everything Maro Itoje was involved in ended up in winning, and that's
everything he touches turns to gold,
or pearl,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a, you normally talk about roller coasters. I mean, it hasn't really been that for him at all. It's just been upwards, hasn't it? Like everything.
It's been like a space rocket, yeah.
And in such a short space of time, literally 2013-14 season. 15 Saxons, 16 England, 17 Lions. Because of course he was the youngest player to be selected in the Lions 41-man squad. Played in all 3 of the Test matches. Some people will say that you're not a real Lion unless you play in the Tests. I don't agree with that. I think if you're flown in just because part of the Geography 6, then maybe that doesn't count. But it didn't matter because of course he played in all 3 of them. So hell of an effort, hell of a few years, hell of a player, hell of a future.
So it's a quick question. After 2019, when we win World Cup, of which no doubt he'll play a big part, what the hell does he do then? What's his motivation? He'll have it all.
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably go into politics.
I'm sure.
Run for Prime Minister.
Yeah. He probably will be Prime Minister, won't he? And I'm sure that's not the way he'd look at it, and not the way, let's face it, if you've got a career in rugby, you probably cherish every moment.
I guess you, let's assume that he's going to be the England captain come 2019, because I think we both think that he will, and as do many of our listeners and many other people out there. I guess your next goal is to captain the Lions. That's the next big one, isn't it? You've theoretically captained your team to a World Cup victory. Now go and captain the Lions. It's what Jono did. Maybe not in that order, but I guess that's the next thing that you can do, isn't it? I mean, you're right. There isn't much left other than that, but that's a big one, and that's a couple of years later. So he'd be 27, still way too young to retire. I guess go and be the first England captain to win, or the only England captain to win back-to-back World Cups.
Yeah, that would be.
There's a few things in there that he can do, that he will do.
There's still room.
Exactly. And look, like we say, 25 these days. 26, 27 is probably when you're in your peak as a rugby player. They're not retiring till they're 35 now.
Do you know what? It's a second row. I reckon it's later. I reckon you're looking sort of 29, 30, just when you're...
So...
Because you've still got that sort of athleticism, you've still got that energy, but you've perhaps got that brain on you. I think Jono was 33 when we won the World Cup.
So Maro will peak in 2023, and his final flourish will be his 3rd World Cup as England captain in 2027 before retiring.
Jesus Christ. Will we even still be about then?
Well, you might not be. You might not be.
You're planning on it, are you?
I'm planning on being about. Are you talking about the rugby pod or us personally?
Us personally.
I'm certainly hoping that I'm still going to be around.
The England rugby pod's bigger than both of us, mate. That'll still be about
12 years time. Yeah, fingers crossed. We shall see. Anyway, moving on. One of his mentors and someone who plays a big role in his rugby life is Richard Hill. He obviously is
legend.
Yeah, of course. World Cup winner, 2003. And although he probably didn't say this, the way that my research presents it makes it look like it could have been him. So why not? A quote: "He combines athleticism with." I'm going to start again. He combines athleticism with artistry, destructiveness with dexterity, a rare breed who is equally effective at blindside flanker or in the second row.
Nice quote.
Thank you.
Very well. No. I'm pretty sure you didn't write it.
Well, didn't I?
I don't know. I can't prove you didn't.
Let's not get caught up with semantics. Let's move on. So yeah, that's kind of the bare bones of what where he's come from. I think it paints quite an interesting picture. He's a smart guy. He's not someone who's just plays sport and it's all about the rugby and nothing else. He's getting a degree whilst being one of the best players in the world. That's pretty impressive. It's a degree in politics. He's interested in where he comes from. He grew up, in the public school system. He didn't know a huge amount about his heritage. He wanted to learn more, so he went and learnt more. When he was dropped from the World Cup squad, he went out to Lagos, and spent, I think, a month out there just learning about his background and his heritage. Anyone can do that, of course. But it's he just seems like he seems very switched on. He seems very down to earth.
Yeah, good for him.
And it's nice to see that he's not. There are people out there, aren't there, who get a bit hung up on the fame, particularly when you're someone like Maro Itoje, who has the old FEC initials next to his name constantly, which is, of course, future England captain, and that's obviously a lot of pressure.
I didn't know what that was. I was going to pretend I did and hope you didn't question me, but now I do.
Well, I figured not everyone would know, and I think it's a term commonly used in cricket. Actually, they use that quite a lot. But yeah, it's certainly been banded about where he is concerned, and I guess with good reason. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, mate, just jump in. So we're talking, and we talk fairly openly, saying he's going to be future England captain. This is obviously our opinion, but is there another option? Potentially, well, of course there are. There's Owen Farrell, there's Billy Vunipola. There are other options, but Maro Itoje does seem the right man, doesn't he?
The thing is, right, so Billy Vunipola, for me, not a captain. He's a destructive player. He's hugely valuable, and he will be a senior player and a leader, as will his brother. But they kind of need to just do their thing. He's a bit of a joker, and that's fine. You need people like that in the squad, or in the team. But I'm not convinced he's a captain. Owen Farrell, we know he can do it. We know he's got that mindset. But we've talked about it before. I think when you have to control the game, and whether he's playing at fly half or inside centre, that's part of his job, and as the kicker as well. I just think he's already leading regardless. It's one of the things that he does. So by making him the captain, you almost just quieten down the other leading voices. I just think you keep him as a vice captain or even as the vice captain, doing what he does, leading the way that he does, and you have someone else do. And I kind of feel like you need the leader in the pack. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was going to say rugby. That was going to be my point. Actually, rugby typically does favour the captain up front, doesn't it? Which I do get. To me, does make sense.
And if you look at the options up front, as I say, Billy Vunipola for me, not a captain. Who else do you go with? I mean, your Rob Shaws aren't going to be around. And been there, done that. Your Hartleys are going to get replaced. Jamie George.
Jamie George, yeah, possibly.
Not for me, not as captain, but as in he will replace Hartley. So that's.
Oh yeah, I think he'll replace Hartley. I meant possibly as a potential captain option. For example, if Maro wasn't about, I mean,
I
to
guess
me,
a
Maro
George
does
Cruz possibly. If you, but then there's the uncertainty about who's going to be playing.
yeah.
So yeah, I kind of feel like he's just the obvious and only choice really. There will be other leaders, and that's great. We need that in the team. But I feel like he's the guy that's got to be the England captain. And he's done, look, he's done it before at under 20 level. He's done it before for Saracens. He is a natural leader, as well as being all of those things that I quoted in that amazing quote that I came up with.
Yes, well done.
So yeah, I think it is a foregone conclusion, in my opinion. I mean, obviously I could be proved wrong, but I kind of hope I'm not, because I think I'd like to see this England team under him.
He it's one of the, I mean the nature of rugby, anything can happen, but via injuries, via all sorts of things. But Maro Itoje does strike me as the sort of person that, if possible, would actually get better under the captain's armband, which is why we're such big. Oh, hey, look, if he's playing for England, I'm not going to throw my toys out the pram if he's not captain. But it does look like a good option. I think, because obviously over the last few weeks we've been doing the awesome foursome as a whole, and despite the fact you've got Big Goose, Crusoe, Launchpad, 3 world-class quality players, yet we're still saying in our minds Maro Itoje is just maybe that step ahead of them even. Like, I mean, he's our starter.
He is, 100%. I think, actually, I was thinking about this today. I think the only other option, there isn't a huge amount to choose, in the back row, in terms of options at the moment. So is to look at him as a blindside flanker. And I know, and obviously Eddie Jones has done it before, and he's stuck with it even when we've all gone. But he's better in the second row, and I just wonder whether he sticks with that plan or not. It'll be very interesting to see what he does next time Maro's involved, whether that's autumn or the Six Nations, because I think that will be very telling as to what the future holds. I think if he has him in the row, then I think the other 3, one of them has to be getting a little bit worried. If he puts them in the back row, then maybe we get kind of what we want, which is for all 4 to be involved. But where would you rather see him? Second row or
do you know what? If at the moment I'm saying second row, because I feel he plays, he has his best games there. But if he could match that performance in back row, I think I'd rather see him in the back row. He's got all the attributes to be a fantastic blindside. Yeah. And when you've got Richard Hill as your mentor, Jesus, you literally can't ask for a better coach.
I mean, I guess a lot depends as well on what the options are in the back row. I mean, right now, it's Haskell and Robshaw. And then a load of youngsters. The younger lads. Yeah, and then a load of youngsters who are as yet properly untested. Probably tested. They haven't played. Yeah, they haven't played any of the really big games. I mean, they played it down in Argentina in a very weakened side, and they've stepped up. They've played against the Barbars, and they've stepped up, but they haven't been properly tested yet. And it'll be interesting to see what comes of that, because of course, it's not for everybody. When the levels, when the level really goes up to the top. So, if those guys aren't coming through as new kind of super flankers, then the door's left a bit open, and I think Haskell and Robshaw might be in trouble. Neither one of them is guaranteed to still be around for the World Cup.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see which direction he takes it. I think I agree with you. For now, I feel like Itoje's a second row. I think he's had his best performances there, and I think when you've got the options in the back row, I think when you've got strong flankers, actually having him in the second row is great, because it almost gives you a 4th back row player.
Yeah.
Which I really like about when he can do what he does in the line out, he can do what he does in the scrum, but then actually in the loose, he's an extra blindside flanker, which is great for turning the ball over. And as we know, he's pretty special when it comes to turnovers. So.
That's a good point. Actually, like having that fourth back row's good. The other thing I want to see, something I don't particularly like, and I don't mean this about Maro Itoje, I mean rugby as a whole, is I hope he plays consistently in the position for both club and country. I find it quite frustrating when someone for their club plays back row, for example, then plays second row for the country. I mean, I'd like to see, if he's playing back row for Saracens, I'd like him to be looked at back row for England. If he's playing second row for Saracens, I'd like him to be looked at second row for England.
I know what you mean. What about Farrell? Doesn't Farrell play 10 for Saracens?
Touche. Yeah, he does. I mean, I think, okay, so that I am going to give a slight exception because he's still playing in that 10, sort of creative role. I think I'm talking more sort of slightly different positions. I think also see it like, so the 10-12, that one, because of the way Eddie Jones has set that up, I think that's okay. But another one which I find I think frustrating is perhaps if somebody's playing wing for their which you see sometimes, you know, maybe fullback for their club, then wing for England, etc. I like to sort of see them sort of be chosen if they're a fullback to play at fullback, because I think it does help develop, like changing that, especially at the international stage. These positions have their definite sort of skill sets, and it's just, I think you notice if somebody plays week in, week out in that position, just that extra 1% difference makes a big difference.
100%. And you look at what Clive Woodward did in 2003, where he basically said to everyone, you need to go away and become the fittest player in your position, because once you've done that, you can then become the best player in the world in your position. And of course, if you're training in one position and then trying to be the best player in the world in another, it's the chance, you know, there are other people trying to do the same thing in, you know, different countries. It's never going to happen for you, you know, unless you're someone a bit special like an Owen Farrell or I guess a Maro Itoje. There's nothing worse than, you know, when you have the prop who plays prop for the club and then scrum half for their country. Oh.
Which happens quite a lot these days. I find that infuriating.
Joking aside, props are changing though, aren't they? I mean, you got props now that are running 100 in about 6 seconds flat.
Well, okay.
On grass, uphill, barefoot.
I've not seen these props, but I cannot wait to watch them play. I don't know where you're going with this. We're not going to have someone play prop for their country and scrum half, prop for their club and scrum half for their country. I am willing to have a bet.
No, that's all right. I'll accept that you're probably right. And move swiftly on. So look, the purpose of the episode was obviously to look at Maro Itoje, but also to look at our awesome foursome. But as we say, he's kind of an anomaly in that he's not really in the mix because he's already in. So really, the three that are left, it's about deciding who gets in with him. Have your opinions changed? Are you still feeling the same way?
Nah, I'm still going the chosen one and Launchpad.
Yeah, I agree.
To start, Big Goose on the bench.
Crusoe, it's because your nickname's just got an O on the end, and that's just a bit soft. If you can't manage to find a proper nickname, then how can you possibly expect to be chosen as three of the awesome foursome?
If you're not going to take your nickname seriously, how can you expect us to take you seriously?
Yeah, Maro Itoje has like 4 nicknames. Crusoe just stuck an O on the end of his. It's weak. It's disappointing.
Bless him.
Anyway, he's got a lot to prove this season if he wants to change that. And I think he knows it already. I think the first thing he's got to do is he's just got to find a real nickname. We'll have a think. We'll come up with something for him. We'll let him know what it's going to be.
We'll definitely. We'll start tweeting that about to let him know. It's a massive season for those 4, or realistically probably for those 3, because I think this season will. So the 2017-2018 season, of course, it will define because the World Cup's 2019, but it's really going to sort of start. You know, whoever stands up this season is massively in the driving seat and is going to take, like, at the moment, those places are up for grabs. this time next year, I don't think they'll be up for
Well, you don't really
grabs in
want
the same way.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think Eddie Jones will always have that. You're always playing for your position mentality. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Right now, anything can happen. And if the right person comes along at the right time, they can jump the queue, if you like. But I think this time next year, you're right. There will be a fairly definitive, certainly a fairly definitive 23, if not sort of 30 odd, and it's going to be very tough to get into that.
Yeah.
I meant that the other way around, didn't I? Definitive 30 odd, if not a definitive 23. But yeah. So I think now is the time to just make sure that you're in the mix for next year, and I guess that's more aimed at some of the younger guys looking to break in, and some of those fringe players that are, maybe not. But yeah, a lot to prove, and like you say, when you have 4 world class second row vying for 2 positions, it's a great problem to have, but it is a problem if you're one of them.
Yeah,
they all know how good each other are, and it makes it very difficult, I think, for them to work out what they need to do.
And that's why I wonder if, because you've got those 4 world-class players, that's why I wonder if Maro will be looked at on the flank at 6, just because if, assuming they're all playing well, you don't really want to leave any of them out.
Well, and this is why it comes down to what the options that you have at flanker, isn't it?
Yeah.
If those options, it's simply a question of, is Maro Itoje better than, at 6 than the person who's currently playing at 6 for England, James Haskell, I guess.
Robshaw.
Chris Robshaw, sorry. And if so, then you consider making that change. Or in fact, is it even that? It's not even. Is it? Is Chris Robshaw more valuable to England than Courtney Laws or Cruiser?
Yeah,
that's the comparison, isn't it? If George Cruz is more valuable to England than Chris Robshaw, then Maro Itoje goes to 6. It's a bit weird, but yeah, I think that's probably the way to look at it. But it's why the autumn internationals are going to be interesting, because he's going to have to do some tests. He's going to have to try some things out, because I don't think it's yet been worked out, and unless things out of their control take over in the next few months and force a decision.
Has there been any more chat on a Twitter book or whatever about whether Eddie Jones is going to leave out some of the Lions players? Has there been any more stuff about that?
I haven't come across anything, but then to be fair, I've not been looking for it. We will definitely have a look in time for our next episode, which is going to be on Saturday or Sunday, because of course the ladies have made it.
No, it's not. It's going to be on Thursday, because we're going to review the semi-final. Yeah,
that's right. It's going to be on Thursday because, of course, the ladies have made it into the semi-final against France. So yeah, you're right. We'll do that then. It's Saturday's the final. We're just making assumptions, aren't we, that they're going to be there, and probably rightly so. But more on that with the Saturday series, as we're calling it, following the Red Roses in their Women's Rugby World Cup this year. But I think, as far as Maro Itoje goes, there's always going to be lots to talk about. I'm sure we'll cover him again. He seems to come up in pretty much every episode anyway. So it felt like there was probably a little bit less to say on this occasion. But yeah, just a special rugby player, and so grateful that he's English.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And guys, if we we'd love to hear if you've got any sort of random interesting facts about the Chosen One, Launchpad, Crusoe, Big Goose, or any of the other players. We'd love to hear from you.
The
please.
Pearl, not the Chosen One, Dan.
The Pearl, sorry, I love the Chosen One. It just seems to fit.
We've selected the Pearl, who is the Chosen One. I think that's what it is. It's Maro, the Pearl Itoje, who is the Chosen One.
The Chosen One. That's his. I believe that's his full christened name.
His title,
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. His title is Sir Maro of Itoje.
Sir Maro of Itoje.
Yeah, that's his title. But yeah, if anyone's got any of that sort of like random facts, I don't know, maybe you played with him at OAs or at Harpenden or wherever, please do let us know, please, because it's, these are the facts that I know our listeners have said, but really interesting perhaps for stuff that's outside of the that's outside of the press, that's outside of Wikipedia or anything like that. We'd love to hear, so please do get in touch with that.
Definitely, or anything at all, really. Any interesting rugby related stories that you'd like to share. It'd be good to hear what you have to say. We're also thinking about starting a fantasy league team, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
If we get around to doing that, and the plan is that we will. We shall see if it happens or not. But the plan is that we will, and we'll set up a league, and people can join, and we'll have a little segment on that every week as well, and we can start reviewing how everyone's doing, how our team is doing, and it should be quite fun. So keep an eye out for that.
There's tomorrow in the office taken care of.
Exactly. Cool. All right, guys. Look, thanks again for listening. As always, if you get the opportunity to head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, it'd be really helpful. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, obviously you're listening now. Get over there, subscribe. It just means that you'll get the episodes directly onto your phone whenever they come out, so you don't have to worry about looking out for them. They shall find you. Get in touch with us, as Dan mentions, on Twitter or anywhere else on social media at England Rugby Pod. Check out the website, www.englandrugbypod.com. You can email us, englandrugbypod@gmail.com. I think that's probably about it from us. Just thanks so much for listening. Thanks for continuing to support us.
Yeah, and guys, please remember to sort of listen and listen to the pod about the Ladies World Cup and follow and support our women in the semi-finals and hopefully the finals this week.
Hashtag Red Roses, hashtag Wear the Rose, hashtag some other stuff as well. But get involved.
Excellent.
Cheers, guys. Take care.